former Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Adeyemi Ikuforiji, has described the last 12.5 years of his trial over allegations of money laundering by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission as harrowing, saying he was persecuted for wrongful allegations. While speaking with journalists in Lagos on Wednesday, Ikuforiji said though he was maligned and suffered unnecessarily while the case lasted, he has decided not to press any charges against the anti-graft agency. He, however, said that greater diligence should be applied in the investigation of corruption cases in order to avoid damaging people's reputations over false allegations. A federal high court sitting in Lagos had on June the 24th cleared the former speaker of the allegations of corruption and money laundering slammed against him by the EFCC.
When the final approval is made, the clerk of the house will cause his accounts department, the director of accounts, to issue a check that will cover everybody. The clerk of the bank comes with the money. Members of the house are made to sign on the register of each bank the amount that is collected. And of course, you don't expect the Speaker of the House to be going to accounts department to be collecting money for his travels. One of his aides will have to do it. They did not say that the money collected were not used for what they were meant for. They did not say that 2 million was collected when the cost was supposed to be 1.8 million. No, not at all. There was no single minute that members of the house actually threw papers at themselves. Let's to talk of throwing their pen or chairs. For 10 good years, Lagos had peace. The Lagos House was the most progressive in this country.
And that was Adeyemi Ikuforiji, a one-time speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Mr. Ikuforiji now joins us to have a quick chat around the number of issues, including his ordeal with that case of alleged fraud with the EFCC, which we just discussed, the clamor for local government autonomy and State House of Assembly, as well as, the general state of the Nigerian nation. Good day, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ikuforiji.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, vindication, could you tell us how it feels and also whether or not you might later on decide to press charges at those who sought to bring this case about?
Honestly, I probably did not realize how much the load was on me until Monday evening after the judge had pronounced his judgment. I felt lighter and I feel very happy, and I feel most grateful to the Almighty Allah for sustaining me and, vindicating me at the end of it all.
Well, Mr. Ikuforiji, we sincerely, congratulate you on your acquittal. But I would like you to know that, there's a common perception in Nigeria that all politicians are corrupt and that Ghana must go bags filled with cash, or should I say prayers sent to emails, are regularly being shared by lawmakers at all levels to the detriment of their constituents. So what are your thoughts on this? How true is this? How do we change this perception?
Well, I think we have, the problem is cyclical. And until we get the knife and cut it somewhere so that we can move from one end of it to the other and really get this problem solved. Nigerians, for many reasons, don't even have any trust, any belief in their leaders. But we all forget that the leaders are not imported from the moon. They are from amongst us. we all have to have a change of mind. We need to have a change of heart. Our orientation, our value system needs to be looked at critically. It is so sad that the general populace, we elect people into office, and they also expect that everyone they elect into office goes there only to go and pilfer and to go and steal from the public. Why do we continue to elect if we believe that there is nothing any of them will do other than to steal? There are lots of things going on, and the narrative needs to change. We don't trust ourselves. No one trusts the other, which is so bad. I watched video clips of what went on in the House of Rep the other day. Purporting that a House of Rep member got up on the floor of the House and he started talking about how much money he collects every month. And immediately I saw that video, I said, something is wrong here. Why will a member get up on the floor of the House and start telling his colleagues how much he collects every month when everybody collects the same thing? And those who brought up that video, they did it for a purpose, just to tarnish the image of the House of Reps and of the National Assembly members, just to make the representatives of the people look bad before the people. And somehow that has its effect on the thinking of the populace. And this needs to stop. In my own case, look, for 12 years, going through that experience, I'm sure it's not everybody that has the gift of God to remain, calm and, and remain godly over everything about it. Look, I knew that I never took one dime, one kobo from the public cover other than what I was entitled to officially. And what I was entitled to officially was not something that I cannot even come to the open to discuss. And for people to have written, or somebody to have written a very frivolous allegation against the Speaker of the House for reasons best known to them, and then the anti-graft agency came on that after searching and working and looking at the books of the House for 3 months and a week and finding nothing wrong. The one who led that team actually told me that, he's surprised that this is the neatest, this is the tidiest books that he has found in any government department since he started working for the anti-graft agency. And that made me happy, because I knew we were doing everything right. And I knew that Lagos House, really was up to the task, and we were doing everything to make it the #1 house in Africa, if possible. But here we come. Somebody came with this, and then you descended on the House, and then you descended on Mr. Speaker. You decided that you have to tear him into pieces. I was Speaker for 10 years, and I was in EFCC's net, going up and down the court for 12.5 years. For God's sake, this is not fair to me. It's not fair even to Nigeria itself, because for the past 9 years that I left the office of the Speaker, of course, I have not occupied any public office. I still have my energy. I still have, the will to serve the people. I still have everything in me, the drive, to be of service. But that had not been, and I never even tried to look for any office, because, if I've been alleged to have done so much evil in office, why should I be running after any other office? So I think Nigerians need to have a rethink. We all have our problems, and it's a national one. the way we go about life, from the very lowest to the highest, there is a need for reorientation. There is a need for us to look at our value system and reevaluate so that we have better society tomorrow.
All right then, Mr. Ikuforiji, I do have to disagree with you slightly. It seems that you're putting a lot of the onus on the general Nigerian population, which is understandable. There definitely has to be some orientation. But for the people that are voted into positions by the people, they hold a different standard of accountability. And this is something we assume they intrinsically understand. So when you have that higher position of authority, you know that you're going to be scrutinized because you have more responsibility. Too often, some of our leaders disregard that scrutiny. They even act worse than they would act if they were not in positions of higher power, knowing that they will get away with it much later down the line for whatever reason. But that's not what I want to ask you about this afternoon. You've been cleared of your charges. I also know that you had a assistant who was part of the case as well. I'm wondering whether he was cleared of his charges as well.
Yeah, he was.
So moving forward,
He was cleared of the charges.
Okay, that's great. Moving forward, what do you think needs to be better in terms of the way or situations are handled within maybe your own cabinet in order to avoid any instances or accusations, putting you more in the light of these politicians who don't have any scandals trailing them, in order for the public to have more confidence in you going forward?
Well, like your comment on my own earlier comment, you see, I'm not saying the people that we elect into office should not be held responsible. If you are elected, we expect higher standards from you. We don't expect you to be like any other person. Being elected is like my guy will say, if you don't want you know, you don't want the cutlass of the king to cut you, or then you must move away from the king's palace, or when you see that the king's cutlass is somewhere, don't stay around it. If you don't want to demonstrate higher standards, then don't go, before the people asking them to elect you into office. When you are elected, of course, more is expected from you. Uneasy lies the heirs that wears the crown. That's what is often said. And that has to be maintained. However, what I'm trying to point out is that, well, the people we elect into office are from amongst us too. And the people who elect others into office, what are their expectations? Look, everyone in your family, everyone in your neighborhood, everyone in your constituency who believes that when you are even in office, you are there to go and get their own portion of national cake to come and distribute to them. These members that we continue to condemn and so on, what they suffer individually in the hands of those who elected them or those who did not even participate in the election process, but are around there in the constituency, it could be harrowing sometimes too. We need to really reorientate ourselves. It's not just about the ones we elect alone, but about all of us. All of us. We're all involved. Everybody expects that, oh, he's honorable. Then they expect that he has some billions that he must have taken from Abuja. We hear these stories every time. And, of course, the fifth columnists are always there, sending out the very wrong things at all times to, create the trouble between us. I tell you, I believe that everyone that is in office should be held accountable for his stewardship, but at the same time, let the people know that things are not exactly what they think of it all the time. It's not everyone that goes into office there that is there to go and pilfer, to go and steal public funds, to go and do this, do that. No, not everyone. And my own case has even proved that some of these stories are just manufactured from the other side of life. It's not real. It's not true. And some leaders, some elected people are still very honest with us. They are still serving us as service should be done.
Oh, very well said, Mr. Ikuforiji. I'd like us to move on to other issues of national importance. Let's talk a bit about the state of the nation. There are some criticisms, that while the government is asking Nigerians to make sacrifices, the political elites are not doing the same. They're still buying luxury cars. They are overhauling the presidential fleet. They are buying bulletproof tires, and so on. Does this mean that the lives of the people in the, corridors of power matter more than the lives of ordinary Nigerians? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, this is one that I consider below the belt for me. The honest truth, virtually everywhere in the world, when you have your people elected to lead you, some higher level of security is provided around them. And I don't think I know of any country where the president is left, as free as the ordinary citizen. He goes about without security aids, without some essentials for the office. And in this case, like many other things, some people exaggerate situations that we find ourselves. Some take advantage of every story that comes out, every news is manipulated to suit their own negative purposes. If we have a presidential fleet and it is considered old and we need to have, a new aircraft for the president, I don't think that should create so much headache amongst us. Some of the aircrafts that are there will have to be disposed of, and a new one. Hello?
Yes, I've heard what you said. You said that the president should be protected, and I agree with that. But what about a little bit of empathy and sympathy towards what Nigerians are facing? Is this the right time to be overhauling the presidential fleet?
It is,
considering the fact that the president several times has asked Nigerians to make sacrifices. Go ahead.
To the best of my knowledge, Mr. President and his team are really trying hard to get Nigeria out of the woods. Yes, there is no gain without pain. If we believe that everything should be subsidized by government, everything should be provided by government, and we are not ready to really buckle up, to really suffer the pain for a short period in order for us to have a rosier future. Too bad. There is no way we can go through this and not suffer some pains before we get the gains. We all must realize this. And I think the situation we are in Nigeria today, maybe it's only those who, if you are not a Nigerian, you are not living in Nigeria, that's the only way you will say some of these pains have not really gotten to you. Personally, I feel it, and my family feel it. But I know that tomorrow looks better with this present administration and what Mr. President and his team is doing. I look forward to a better Nigeria. We need to give the president a little more time. And some of the things that are really positive are not as advertised as they should be. Every pain that we have is what we talk about. For God's sake, food. How can we have such a big arable land in this country, and we have army of unemployed youth, and we have those who are just retiring from service and so on, and nobody is really doing anything about food production. When I was growing up, virtually everywhere and everybody was involved in food production. In a house like where I live today, in those days, you will have the woman of the house plant some tomato, pepper at the back garden. The man is also planting yam and so on around the house. Nobody is doing that today. My teachers, when over the weekend, they are in their farms, doing one thing or the other. During school, we do gardening, where even school children are involved in food production. But today, all of us, we expect that we should import virtually everything.
Is it possible,
we can't go on this way.
Ikuforiji, is it possible that food production has been reduced due to the insecurity in the land? Is that something you've considered?
I agree with you. In the last few years, insecurity has set in, but the issue of reduced food production is not just a thing of yesterday. It has been there before this insecurity problem. It is our change, our new orientation, the orientation of, everyone, puffing up. We are not ready to do anything any longer. We just want to import. We will import toothpick. We will import vegetable oil. We will import guava. We will import mango. That's what we believe in now, and that cannot help this nation. Let us all go back to where we were some 40, 50 years ago and reinvent our society. And we're better off for it. There is nothing wrong in each and every one of us doing what we were doing right then. And then I'm sure if we do, we will get Nigeria back on course. Mr. President alone cannot do it, no matter how much he puts in. Even if the economy turns around, if we don't change this, our orientation towards life generally, we won't be able to sustain it.
Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us today on Newsday, Honorable Adeyemi Ikuforiji, the former Lagos State House of Assembly Speaker. Thanks for joining us.